What is going on, everybody? My name's Chris. Welcome to Bourbinsane. We're back today with episode number 2 in my brand new series talking about bourbon trail distilleries. Today we're taking a trip to Jim Beam. Now Jim Beam has got a couple locations. They've got the American Stillhouse, which is located in Clermont, Kentucky. And they've also got their Whiskey Row in downtown Louisville, which is their Urban Stillhouse. So two different entities, both owned by Jim Beam, kind of give you a little look into the Jim Beam experience. We'll start out talking about the Urban Stillhouse. When I went on my latest trip to Kentucky, downtown Louisville was the first place I visited. I stayed one night there. I hit pretty much all the Whiskey Row places and visited them. I didn't do any of the tastings or offerings that the Urban Stillhouse has, but I took a lot of pictures, got to see the experiences, and talked to a couple of the people there as well. The Urban Stillhouse is a really cool location. Everything is really modern, really a tourist attraction area. It's right by 4th Street Live, downtown Louisville. And it was a really cool place. They had all the standard base Jim Beam offerings, which is what the American Stillhouse had too. They didn't really have anything too special. Nothing limited, really. I was able to get a Legent from there, and it was a good price. It was about $33, I think, so not bad at all. But they have the base stuff, everything here. You know, the Bookers. They only had one batch of Bookers, and it was actually Teresa's batch, which is, unfortunately, not my favorite batch. But a very cool place, very modern. At the Urban Stillhouse, they have a couple different experiences you can partake in while you're there. The first is called A Taste of History. And what it is they kind of just sit you down, talk to you about the history of Jim Beam a little bit. They actually walk you through the Kentucky Chew like Booker Noe used to do when he sipped his bourbon. They give you a history of the company and things like that. Then you get to taste 4 whiskeys. So 3 of these whiskeys are chosen by them. The 4th whiskey you can pick out of anything in their lineup. Nothing limited, of course, just their base lineup. I think Booker's is included, though, so you can try the latest Booker's batch. And pretty cool experience for that. It's only about 15 minutes long, and it only costs $8. So not bad, and if you've never tried any Jim Beam products, $8 to try 4 things, that's a great deal. The second thing you can do at the Urban Stillhouse is something they call Tableside Cocktails. Now, this looked really cool, and I wish we were able to do it, but we just ran out of time. You get to make a couple different cocktails, and the bartenders there will actually walk you through each step in great detail for how to make the cocktails. And the cool thing about this is these are actually cocktails you can make later at home. Talking about the ingredients, mixing them, and you get to drink them. That's the best part. So it's about a 30-minute experience, and it's $25 for this. Now, this isn't something you can just walk in and do like a taste of history, so you may have to call ahead and try to get reservations. Sometimes you can walk in if there's time and if they're offering it at that time, but I would call ahead if that's something you're interested in doing. Another really cool thing about the Urban Stillhouse is they have a build-your-own bottle. So this is similar to the Michter's Distillery that I visited last episode. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out right now. But they actually give you the opportunity to bottle your own bottle of Jim Beam. Now, what you'd be bottling is the Jim Beam Urban Stillhouse Select. So it's kind of a little variation of kind of like a Jim Beam single barrel, I guess. I wasn't able to try it. I didn't decide to do it myself because I'd already spent so much money that weekend in Kentucky. But if you want to do it, it's about $46 for a $7.50, or you can do a $3.75 that's going to be $30. So it's really cool. They walk you through, the bottle, that whole side of things, and you get to actually bottle your own. So a pretty cool experience, and the Urban Stillhouse has a lot to offer. All right, let's move into the Jim Beam American Stillhouse. Now, this was one of my favorite bourbon trail distillery tours. I love this place. This is located in Clermont, Kentucky. It's kind of in between Louisville and Bardstown, so kind of in between if you think about that area. And this is a massive, massive place. I pulled in and I didn't know which road to take to get to just the visitor center. I mean, it was massive. The actual visitor center itself is gorgeous. A really cool setup. It's almost like a campus, like a tourist campus, if you will, for bourbon. They've got they got Booker Noe's house. The Jim Beam house, I should say. Jim Beam house up there with Booker Noe statue, though, in the front with him sitting in his rocking chair with some bourbon. Really cool. It was cool to just walk the grounds. Unfortunately, it was a really crappy rainy day out, so I couldn't do as much of the walking around as I wanted to, but let's talk about the tour a little bit. So after visiting the gift shop, we started the tour. We actually had to take a bus to our first location. So you take a big bus, they talk you about the history of Jim Beam during that bus ride over, and then we move into the actual kind of distilling area. Now, the area they show us in the Jim Beam American Stillhouse is not the massive, massive ferment distillery, distilling tanks, which you do see later, but this was kind of their test still. So it still puts out whiskey. It just wasn't their massive still that's doing all the super volume that you see from Jim Beam. After that, though, we did move into the fermentation tanks, and this is what really amazed me about these fermentation tanks. I had no idea. They have so many of them. Compared to like a Michter's like I visited last time, which was just downtown, Louisville, you can't expect it to be as big. They had so many fermentation tanks, and it was quite an experience to see the kind of volume they were pumping out. You got to see the new make coming out of the actual pipes too, which was really cool. It was really cool to see just the massive amount of alcohol that's coming out of those stills. I mean, it's amazing. They are the biggest bourbon producer in the world. So, I mean, they need to be putting out massive volume, and they're definitely doing it. After we checked out the fermentation, checked out the actual still, we moved in to talk about barreling. So you got to go out to a little mini area with barreling, and that was cool. Talked about the wood staves they used, the char, that kind of stuff. But the coolest part, I thought, about Jim Beam was they bring you over to this Knob Creek barrel. And it's a barrel that actually has Knob Creek in it. So Knob Creek single barrel. It's at barrel proof. And it's full. And they talk about it. He actually rolls the barrel and puts a little bit in a glass. And you see it, and the thing is almost like black. I mean, it's really cool. And, legally we can't pass that glass around and drink it or anything like that. So that didn't happen. But he had to dump the glass he just filled out. And he said, hey, I can't give you guys a sip of this, but I can dump this glass out really slow. So if you guys, take a little taste, I won't tell anyone pretty much, And that was really, really cool. Just our tour guide was awesome. And a really cool thing like that. And tasting Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve right out of the barrel, I mean, that's really cool. It's not the same as taking a sip, but it's pretty much the same tasting it. And it was really good. Really good. I mean, it tasted like it even had more kick than the regular Knob Creek single barrel. So. Finally, the last spot where we ended the tour was in the bottling area. Now, this again was just a smaller bottling line, not their massive, massive bottling line. Everything they have to, for tours, they have to show it in a little bit smaller scale because it's just not feasible otherwise. But the bottling line was really cool. Now, this was another bottle your own bottle if you want. And then what you'd be bottling is the Knob Creek Single Barrel 9-year. So, a lot of people did it. I did not do it again for reasons I talked about before. But I did get some footage of other people bottling it, and they walk you through the whole process. At the end, you get to put a little, fingerprint in the wax seal if you want to make it your own. So really, really cool experience for that too. It's the same price as what the Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve is if you were to buy it in the gift shop. So right around 50, 60 bucks. I'm not sure the exact price, but it's just a cool thing and a nice way for them to market to get people to actually buy their product as well if they're bottling it themselves. So pretty cool there. One fun fact about Jim Beam is our tour guide told us that the single barrel reserves are actually picked by usually the tour guides, the people who put out on the private selections. So the single barrels that are in the gift shop, I should say. So the bottles you get from the gift shop are supposedly better barrels than what you'll just find in your shelf, at your local supermarket or something, because they're actually going and hand picking these barrels and doing side by side and seeing what they are for the gift shop. So they're not, called anything cool or special, but that's just the gift shop bottles. So pretty cool fact there. After the final part of the tour, we moved into the tasting section. Now, tasting was pretty cool. We only got to try 2 samples, I believe it was. The first one was the Jim Beam Black Label, so it was nice they didn't just give us the Jim Beam White Label. We got to try the Black Label a little bit, a little extra age, and the Black Label is, I think, a lot better than the White Label. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the Black Label. I'm actually a pretty good fan of it. And after that, you got to try one of their expressions, so anything. They had their whole Jim Beam lineup. They had the flavored whiskeys, they had all their rye expressions. Again, no limited stuff other than a Booker's. So the Booker's they had out that day was the Kentucky Chew. I think that's a 2018-03, but it was good. It was good. That was, of course, my second choice, being a barrel-proof guy. So very, very cool place was Jim Beam. I wish the weather was better for me specifically. At the end of the tour, I capped off the day at Fred's Smokehouse, which is right next to the tasting area in the gift shop. That's right in the center of all the tourist stuff there with the Jim Beam house and everything else, and a really cool place too. I got a brisket sandwich there. It was really good, and nothing like bourbon and barbecue, I'll tell you. Match made in heaven. Tours at the American Stillhouse were only $14, so a really good deal, and it was definitely a great experience. I would absolutely recommend you go to Jim Beam, the American Stillhouse, and the Urban Stillhouse if you're around both areas. It's an awesome tour and one of my favorites on the Bourbon Trail. Thank you all so much for watching episode 2 of my Bourbon Trail Distillery episodes. Let me know what you guys think of Jim Beam if you've been there. Let me know what your favorite Bourbon Trail distillery is, and let me know what other distilleries you want to see me talk about. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. Stay insane, everyone.